Welcome to the Además podcast with your host, Yvonne, public speaking consultant.
And Steph, visibility coach, answering all of your public speaking questions every single month. This is us, Juntas, beyond the stage. It's all good.
Welcome, y'all, to the official launch of the Además podcast. We are super excited about this. We've literally been working on this for months, and we want to introduce you to what you can expect every single month from us. And I thought it'd be really cool to start off with a fun sort of behind the scenes moment in our public speaking journey that lives here rent free in our mind. Steph, I'll let you start if you have your moments, but what was one of the most memorable behind the scenes moment for you?
I feel like I actually have a really hard time figuring this out because my perfectionist brain wanted to come up with the most like jaw dropping. This was like amazing, mind blowing. And as I started to like think about this a little bit, literally the one thing that stuck with me was throughout my past experience, I went to business school and I always put a lot of emphasis on creating very like beautiful presentations. So there was this one specific talk that I put on where at the event, all of the presentations, all of the talks had a slide deck. So I was like, okay, this is my opportunity to shine. Let me get creative. Let me build something like unique, different, memorable. And as I was putting this together, one of the rules of thumb that kept popping into my brain, I'm like, okay, I got to structure it this way so that it's impactful, so that it's educational, so that folks are really hooked with what I'm saying. And at the end, in order for it to be impactful for my business, in order to build my own community, maybe sign some clients, one of the things that a lot of folks do at these type of events is they will put in some sort of call to action where it's like a lead magnet and then it goes into a tripwire and it's this very structured funnel. And that's one of the things that I've always done because my brain wanted to tell me that I had to. And for this presentation, I'm like, you know what? Like, I don't want to put a lead magnet. I don't want to have some freebie that then puts everybody on my email list. And there's this whole sequence after it where I'm trying to sell something. I'm like, let me think of something different. And when I thought about it, what I really wanted to get out of this at that time is I wanted to build my podcast audience a lot more. That really felt like a priority for me. So what I ended up doing is I structured the presentation so that throughout it, there was mentions of different episodes within my podcast that would talk a little bit more in depth about that specific parts of that presentation, about that specific topic. And I weaved it all in. I was really proud of it. And after the talk, after the event, I had somebody reach out and say something along the lines of like, oh, that was like one of the coolest presentations I've ever like watched. Like that was so cool. I loved how you did that thing with the podcast. I need to have you come speak at my event. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like this is the kind of stuff that I want. This is the kind of impact that I want to create for my own business because what I value, what I want is to build a community. What I want to do is do more collaborations, more speaking engagements. So for that to lead to exactly what I wanted, what I was hoping to get out of that presentation, out of that event was honestly like one of the, I would say, proudest / more memorable moments because it really solidified to me that I could break the so-called rules. I didn't have to do what every other speaker does when they structure their own talks. I could get creative and that could still be impactful. It could still be a really amazing talk while doing it my way.
I love that. And I think my example is going to be a little different because I mean, it's still kind of like not fitting the mold type of thing, but I love that because I think what you exemplify is getting creative with it. Whenever I work with folks, I tell them, you know what, dude, like you could take this, remix it, and make it your own. You don't have to keep it to what I provide some guide, maybe, but do it your way so that it feels authentic because then that's actually what's going to lead to the things that you want, right? Like once you open yourself up to that. So I love that behind the scenes moment. Mine is going to be a little bit different. My very first public speaking engagement, actually, I think this one was my second one. By this time, it was my second one, but it was maybe 3 months after the very first one. I was a keynote speaker. My audience was 5,000 people. And I was, I think, 17 or 18. And I remember, I'm going to talk about style. like how you dress when you are public speaking, right? And this idea of to look professional, I have to look like 1, 2, 3. And I remember wearing the giant statement necklaces because that was in at the time, and going in my mom's closet and grabbing a dress from there, right? And going to Ross. Actually, I think I got these shoes specifically, the one I'm going to talk about, at
Yeah.
Didi's. And I remember trying them on at Didi's and being like, ooh, this feels a little high for me. And if you've been to Didi's before, you kind of know too, but I didn't choose I didn't go for comfort, and I also didn't go for quality. I just went for, I need shoes for this speaking engagement, and these look kind of professional. I'm going to get these. So the heel was thick, but there wasn't a lot of stability in the actual shoe itself. And I remember being backstage and I was getting all mic'd up. So you get really nervous already, just naturally. Like, I'm about to go speak to these people. I'm getting mic'd up. My heart is pounding. I wonder if they can hear my heart pounding through the mic. And because I got nervous, my legs started shaking and my calves started to feel just weak. And the shoes didn't help because they didn't provide me the stability that I needed. And I remember that when right before going on stage, I was like, Yvonne, you need to calm your nerves down because your leg is quite literally shaking. That's not an issue, right? Nerves are not the problem. But if I go up on stage and my legs are shaking and I don't have stability because of these dang shoes that I chose, then I'm going to fall on stage. And that's even worse. That thought made me feel even more nervous about it all. And so I went on stage, was nervous for the first few minutes of it. I think naturally that happens all of the time. And my legs were shaking. And I look back at videos and I can see it. I know no one else probably saw it, but I can see it. And I mention this because I think that, one, nerves are inevitable, but it's, I think, the perfect example of, over time, I began to match my style to what I needed to be on stage, what I needed to be comfortable on stage. Whereas I was like, I need to look a certain way or be professional and wear these heels. I'm so much more comfortable in my own essence as a speaker that I can show up and wear whatever it is that I want and still be strategic with it, right? I still love matching some of the colors that are, or complementing the colors of the conference or the themes of the conference. But I do it, I'm mi estilo. I always say my style is cool, calm, and comfortable. And that came from not being cool, not being calm, and not being comfortable on stage in what I was wearing. I know that it's not necessarily, I think it's a part of the public speaking experience to think about, oh, what am I going to wear when I go up on stage, right? You have to be really comfortable. And that is always one of the most memorable moments for me because till this day, I struggle in heels. Then I got bunion surgery and I can't walk in them anymore, right? So I've had to find ways to still feel myself and feel cute and elevated and confident on stage without losing comfort.
Yeah.
So that's my behind the scenes moment, my most memorable behind the scenes moment, the one that just came top of mind.
I feel like that's honestly like so important, the whole like feeling comfortable thing. And it really resonates with my thought and my entire, the way that my brain was working when I was comparing myself to other speakers. And literally, when I think of public speakers, especially at an in-person event on a big stage, I think of heels. I think of like blazers and like hot dresses and like very put together people. But what if you want to wear shoes? What if that's all you can wear, right? So I think that's so either empowering, it's so inviting, welcoming for other people who want to dress up their own way or who want to do things their own way, that
Yeah.
it's a permission that a lot of us think we need. And to see somebody else doing the thing, it's like, yeah, I can show up with my runners. And if I'm shaking, that's totally normal. That's actually something that makes me think back to like when I first started, if you want to call it public speaking, because I remember throughout even, I think it was grade 8 when I first started, like that was my first speech. And I had just moved to Canada from Argentina and they wanted us to pick a random topic and do, I don't know if it was like 5 minutes or something like that to just perform in front of the entire class. And I had no idea what to do. And I think the topic I picked was something about like zippers and the company like YKK. And I did that. And I remember having my little cue cards and I was shaking. And that same experience translated throughout my entire high school experience and even into a little bit of university, where every presentation I did for every English class, for every business class, for every marketing and sales class, it was literally like so nerve wracking. And I'd be shaking, my hands were shaking, my mouth would be going dry. And I'm like, I don't like this. Like, I don't like speaking in front of people. I used to be really, really really shy. So for me to be now in front of all these folks who are just staring at me, I'm like, I don't like this. It's not my cup of tea. So I was only doing it because you had to.
Mhm.
And what I started to notice, there was a bit of like a shift in university that started to lead me to participate in competitions against other universities where we had to literally speak in front of like hundreds of folks, other students. And the shift for me was starting to actually research the topics a lot more in depth. And I found that that brought a lot of the confidence that I needed in order to feel like I knew what I was talking about. Maybe not more or better than everybody else that was tuning in, that was listening to me share my ideas, my thoughts, and this presentation that I had put together. But it gave me that certainty that I couldn't mess it up because I knew it almost like inside and out, as opposed to it be very forced. Like I had to say the right things in the right order. Otherwise I would forget and I wouldn't even know what my next line would be. It's like, no, you've researched this. Like you know the topic. And I feel like that's what kind of kickstarted my career in public speaking in a very indirect way, because it led to the competitions throughout university. It led to, in my career in insurance for like 7 years, I was doing like trainings for new employees. I was hosting lunch and learns. I was doing these mini kind of like speaking, whether it was one-on-one or in front of like 30 people. And eventually it led to entrepreneurship, where I did a panel in Toronto. And that was my first like official, like more what I like to call the more official public speaking opportunity, where I was actually on a little stage and it was business related. And it
Don't put
was
quotes
more
around it, and don't say little stage. That was a stage, and that was, and no, yeah, lean into it.
I feel like it was incredible. It was one of the best opportunities. No, it was honestly amazing. It was my first official public speaking opportunity, and it kind of just opened my eyes to what I could do, especially as I had been slowly building up so much more confidence in my ability to speak and to share stories and to share my expertise and my own experiences. That it led to me realizing that this was actually a marketing tool, it was a visibility tool, it was a connection tool, and it was a way that I got to run my business. And it was something that I could actually share that knowledge and that experience with a lot of my own clients, my own community. So that was kind of like what led me to where we are right now, you and
Yeah.
I, right? Like we all
Yeah.
had our own journeys.
Yeah, and we do it all the time, right? It's something I love that you mentioned, one of the very first memories that you have of public speaking and how it started way before you even started calling it speaking, I guess, or I'm a public speaker, because that's actually one of the things that I think really does dictate the way that we experience public speaking moving forward. One of my very first experiences with speaking was when I was in elementary school. I was very reserved, very shy, but I was the host for all of our cultural events, or I was the MC for our graduations, and I would do it in English and Spanish. And I never saw those things as being part of who I was, right? Because I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. And because I am an introvert, I think that the stage, without me even knowing it at such an early age, became the space where I'm like, no one, this isn't the space where anyone's going to judge me for being too quiet or whatever other things come with us introverts, right? Like, oh, she's malacarosa, or she doesn't speak, or whatever it is. Because I always felt like the stage, whenever I did do those performances, yes, I got nervous, but it always felt really good in my body to be there, and it didn't feel forced to me. It felt like something that I was actually really good at. But then I would get off stage, and that part of me was like, oh, okay, now I'm back to this. I'm off stage. Now everybody's going to be like, oh, back to reserved Yvonne, right? And I have had to learn to be okay with that. I love being on stage. And when you give me time to think and craft my message, I do a really good job, and I love it. And I came to realize that the stage was this one place where the spotlight was on me, which generally I do not like. And I don't like that in my day to day. But when I was on stage, it was because I had prepped something. I had prepared something that was worth listening to. And that to me is one of the most valuable things about public speaking, is that when you are public speaking, in most situations, you've thought about something. you've deeply engaged in this thought, in this theory, in this experiment, in this knowledge, and now you have something to share about it. It's not coming from a let me just yap away type of thing. And maybe and this is maybe my intro version, but I value deep thinking so much, and I think that public speaking is a tool for allowing you to just do that. And then when you go on stage, you're showcasing the deep thinking that you've done about a particular topic, and I just think it's really cool. So when I think about my public speaking journey, that's really where it started for me. And officially, I started when I was in high school because my school made us do that. My experience into being a keynote speaker, my very first event, keynote paid engagement, was 1,500 people on the stage. I'd never really done that before. And it was because my high school made us do presentations to our teachers, a panel of our students to pass on to the next grade every single year. And I remember being in high school like, dude, why do we got to do all this? Like none of my other classmates, not my classmates, none of my other friends from other schools have to do this. Why do we have to do it? But then I remember also feeling really good about it after I was done. And that led to an opportunity to be keynote speaker. And I remember I was going to do it for free. I was like, sure, I'll do it, right? Because they said, hey, Yvonne, we'd like for you to share your story with this. And it was project-based learning, if anyone's familiar with it. But I was like, okay, I'm first gen, I'm Latina, college on my mind, success on my mind. What am I going to do to become successful, whatever that meant to me at the time? And I felt like I couldn't say no to this opportunity because it felt like a really good one. And I always say that I kind of stumbled across my official public speaking by accident and my people pleasing because I was like, yeah, I can't say no to this, right? So I did it. They sent me the contract, and then it was a paid speaking engagement. And I was like, whoa, what? Like people get paid this much to speak? Like that's crazy. And that started, I always say like I started my public speaking career before I even started my tech career. Before I even graduated into college, but I didn't see it as a thing that I would do. I always saw it as my side hustle of sorts, right? Or something that came to me just because, oh, I got lucky with that opportunity. This isn't something, my vision of success at the time was I need to go and get like a job, a real job, and do this. I didn't realize that public speaking was a career, was something that people actually did. And recently it came full circle because my teacher and I actually, who was in the audience with me, she was like, I remember after my speaking engagement, I went up to her and I was like, dude, Abby, people do this? Like, they make this much money just to come talk for 10 minutes? She's like, yeah. I was like, wow, that'd be so cool to do. And now I do that. And so I like that, to your point, Steph, of we start young. So to anybody that's tuning in right now, like just think about that one moment. Think about that one moment that you remember early on too in your speaking career, whatever that is. Whether some people have mentioned, oh, I remember you reading at church, right? That's public speaking. The way that you engage in public speaking then impacts the way that you show up in it now. With all that being said, you've got a little bit of a taste of where we started in our public speaking journey, and you'll likely get a lot of that. I feel like people will get a lot of that throughout the episodes. Steph, how did we this even happen? Like, how did we come together? You are a visibility coach and I'm a public speaking consultant. Where did we find each other? Like, how did that happen?
Okay, as to where, I almost want to say I have no idea, but I want to say it was Threads. It was either Threads or Instagram. One happened before the other. But for me, from my perspective, honestly, I remember seeing you creating content on Threads. And I believe it was there that you had shared this opportunity where you were highlighting other speakers. And I'm like, I love that. That is so freaking beautiful, because one of the things that I love to do with my business when it comes to my own marketing and visibility is all about collaborations. It's all about public speaking. It's all about, and even in just podcast interviews, right? So when I saw this thing, I'm like, wait, I get to practice in a more formal way through podcast interviews how to embody my speaker identity. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. Like, I'm always focusing on my own clients, but what about me? What about me practicing? And one of the things that you had done is invited folks who wanted to participate to put together like a TED Talk style speech before we headed into the interview. So that really hooked me in. And I had already been seeing you and your content. So I'm like, okay, like she's kind of cool. She's kind of in like my same orbit.
Not kind of cool. I'm just kidding.
She's like the coolest thing ever. Like, I want to be her best friend.
I'm just kidding.
Literally, what was it? One of your friends, Maria, posted this thing on Instagram the other day, and it was you two just like hanging out on like a patio, being like besties. And I'm like, can I be adopted as a best friend? Like, I want to hang
I
out
think
with
I'm
you
wearing this
all.
exact shirt in that too.
Oh,
It's funny.
it's very on brand. It looks amazing.
And
Of
yes,
course, we would wear
you're
it.
welcome. Welcome to the club.
Thank you. I love that. I'll have to take you up on that one day. So yeah, honestly, like I thought you were just really freaking awesome, really cool. And the fact that we specialized in a lot of similar things, even if we have our own angle and our own take on it, I'm like, hey, clearly we're in the same space. We care about and are passionate about the same things. I would love to collaborate with you. So we did that. We did the TED Talk. You provided some amazing feedback for me. And I remember being like, wow, you're really going above and beyond. Like, this isn't just an opportunity to fill podcast episode slots. Like, this isn't just you doing the thing because that's just what you do and you're just checking off a box. Like, you deeply care about the people that you're interviewing. And that drew me in even more. So within the next couple months after we did that mini collaboration, I kept feeling this nudge with a lot of the content that you were putting out there because it resonated with stuff that I wanted to do and that I wanted to talk about. And I'm like, there's something here. Like, you were never talking directly about what your vision was going forward, but you were laying down the groundwork. You were essentially expressing your own opinions and ideas, which were the foundation to how your business is going to continue to grow. And my brain, because I'm so like strategic and analytical, like type A, was putting the pieces together. And I'm like, this would be like a great offer or program or collaboration or initiative of some sort. So I literally just reached out and I'm like, how do you feel? Like, we had a little like cafecito chat. Like, how do you feel, Yvonne, about some sort of either program, collaboration thing? And we literally just like sat there for however long we hung out that day. And we're just like feeling things out. And we're like, well, what about this? Like, maybe this would be fun, maybe this. And like, it just all of a sudden organically came together. And we're like, what if we literally just share our own advice? What if we just have
like
this
answer
show?
questions. Yeah. I think it works out too because the different perspectives that people are going to get, right, around like your backgrounds and y'all like tuning in right now, links to the websites are in the description of this as well, but in your backgrounds in marketing and really your lens of public speaking is amplification of people, of their stories through the art of public speaking, right? And a lot of what I focus is on your practice, on the actual practice of public speaking and how to make your storytelling impactful. Like all of these like nerdy kind of more can be more technical parts of public speaking and reflecting and really owning your essence as a speaker, right? And I think that's where the bridge happens for us is we have our lanes in public speaking, really what we specialize within the art of public speaking, but we're both tapped into bringing your unique essence into the art itself because it's so needed. And I think that's where the bridge for us happens and the connection, and why I think this is so special because we've even had conversations before this, y'all, where Steph will say something and I'm like, I kind of have a different opinion or a different lens on this. And I think that's really cool to bring to everybody, which is part of the reason and what you can expect every single month, right? We'll be dropping episodes around one, answering your questions, but also sharing a little bit of our experiences and expertise in the art of public speaking and even beyond that, right? Steph, with your background and with my background in tech, internal comms, and all of those kinds of things, I think we're not just public speakers, we're also all these multi-passionate, faceted people as well. And so we're bringing that lens into how we answer your public speaking questions every single month. And we want you to ask us anything and everything, right? From the, do you sweat on stage? Because I am a sweater, right? To, hey, how should I craft this speech if I want to talk about this? To, hey, I did a speaking engagement. How do I leverage that speaking engagement to book more speaking engagements, right? Because Steph, I know that's something that you really focus on. So we want you to ask us all the questions that come to mind, even the ones that you think are not common, the spaces where you haven't been able to ask these public speaking questions. We want this to be your space. And we're behind the scenes, right? There's not going to be anybody staring at you. If you don't want to be on the spotlight, you don't have to be, but get your answer to the question because we're so happy to be able to do this and come together to do this. Steph, do you want to add anything or let people know how they can even submit questions? Like, how's this all going to go down?
Absolutely. I think it's honestly just to like reiterate what you were just sharing. I think it's so beautiful to be able to bring different perspectives, because one of the things that I've experienced a lot in the online space is when it comes to positioning yourself as a leader, when it comes to really expressing your own thoughts and opinions and taking up more space, we sometimes to some extent feel pressure to agree. And that could be our inner people pleaser. It can be so many other things that we bring to the table. And it's like, well, if you're going to be the smartest person in the room, then you need other people to agree with you, to see you as that expert, as that person that's so knowledgeable. And I think what we've created here is so beautiful, because we're almost ripping that mold, or that the restriction, the chains around it, where it's like, no, we don't have to agree. We may absolutely agree on certain instances, but the fact that folks get to listen to and hear different perspectives and different angles, and based on either experiences, knowledge, etc., it's just so beautiful, because it's almost, at least for me, it feels like I too belong on the stage, like I too get to do things my way, like what you said, there's no wrong question, experience, answer. Like if you're the one sweating, you're the one sweating. There's probably going to be a million people, but then if you're not, that's also good. That's also okay. So it's just, I feel like it's going to be so amazing to be able to riff and disagree and agree, and just bring all of those different perspectives forward. But like Yvonne said, just submit your questions. We actually created a very simple form. We're going to link it in the description, and you get to submit as many questions as you want, all in one go or every single month, and we'll make sure to go through them and we'll answer them based on our own experience. We'll make sure that it's something that we can ethically comment on. That way you can get that fresh perspective, that advice, that chisme behind the scenes, and hopefully help you throughout your own speaking journey.
Yeah. And because this is also an opportunity for you, if to not only get your answers, you can also, we also want to highlight you. So there is an opportunity, I think, on the forum to say, hey, yeah, like shout me out type of thing. Because if you are a speaker, if you're actively looking for speaking engagements, want to be highlighted, we also have a bit of an opportunity to do that there. And we're just really excited for this. This has been a long time in the making. So thanks for stopping by, tuning in. We're really excited about what's coming month to month. And we're so, so excited to answer your questions. And yeah, agree, disagree. I think that's what's beautiful about being on stage. And even if Steph and I had the same exact background, we are still going to have different experiences in what we do. Even if our businesses were the exact same, our approaches will always be different, just because we're all different. We're all different people, and we require different things to show up on stage and be present and all these things. So I'm really, really excited about what's to come.
It's going to be
To
freaking
do this
awesome.
podcast. Yes.
And we all get to do it. Juntas, beyond the stage.
Last thing that I'll say to close us out, obviously, y'all, we can't do this if you don't submit any questions. So please, please, please head to the links in the description of this podcast episode. This will be, if YouTube allows for it to be pinned. Is that possible? Can you pin
No
something?
idea. We're
Okay,
no YouTube
well,
experts yet.
I need to, yeah, no. I do public speaking, not YouTube yet. But please answer your questions. These will also be available in our bios. All of our Instagrams will be sharing it frequently. But if ever you don't know where to find it, head to the description of this podcast episode and you'll always find it here. Submit your questions here. And of course, share this with other people, other speakers, maybe people that are just starting in their journey, someone that doesn't think they want to public speak, but maybe wants to get better at their interpersonal communications, workplace communications. Public speaking is all of that, right? I like to think about it as an umbrella term for a lot of the communication that we do every single day. So please share this with someone that you think might be interested. Tag us when you do. It helps us grow the channel, it grows our reach, and potentially helps us help other people get on the stages, feel confident in their essence, and get paid to speak.
Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in.